Hello, welcome to International Professional Communication. This week focuses on understanding self and groups as we continue to examine and understand diverse philosophies and especially the cultural dimensions within and across societies. A major focus is also on developing a visualization of your personal learning network. I'll talk a bit about that as well, and of course we'll share this and discuss these in your small groups in the course forum discussions. To begin, some pictures from my time and visit to Peru. And these were taken various parts of Peru, different locations, but I was always intrigued by the hats. You've got a hat here, 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 here. My initial assumption, why are these hats worn? They're hats, right? We just wear them now and then. In this particular case, however, they are a means of measurement. So especially in the various places for selling, especially of food, the person would place X amount. Turn the hat over, fill it up. That was your amount of produce. Pay accordingly. The importance of watching, observing as a means to better understand self and groups. Let's consider this scenario. You have begun work as a female and a foreigner in a corporation in Japan. You are invited to a coworker's home for an evening meal with the team. Happens to be all male workers. You enjoy the meal, and afterwards, when the woman, the host, clears the table, you get up, jump up to help her. She quickly gestures, then no, stay seated, and you never see her again that evening. In fact, you never again are allowed to help. This happened to me. It happened more than once. It happened every time I was invited to a coworker's home. I lived in this intersection, almost a middle world between the things I had grown up with and how I wanted to behave in my own self-identity as this person from the Midwest in the U.S. And then in Japan, a highly collective rather than individualistic culture, and one where the definite roles for gender articulated in a very different way. Think about the interview that you have conducted by now for the comparative analysis assignment. What did you learn about self-identity in the culture you are investigating? What did you learn about group identity? Be sure to discuss the cultural dimension of individualism and collectivism in relation to the culture you're investigating. And keep in mind that in a number of cases, your work in the course forum can be an early draft for the associated assignment for each of these weeks and these modules. Another question, how is being indebted or obligated to someone for favors? How is that valued in your target country? What about the value of age, seniority, attitudes toward age? Again, attitudes toward gender. This week we examine in more detail self-identity. I have two pictures, again from travels. Let's see, in the bottom picture, can you find me? This is quite a while ago. You maybe see me more in my mom in the front row at that time. As I'm now closer to the age, of course, she was back then. Anyway, That was in Japan. The picture above that was when I was visiting my daughter as she was doing a Fulbright in Morocco. And my son, interestingly, was allowed to come up to the second floor and be part of this gathering and our meal together, mainly because he was still somewhat younger. Think of each of these. Note the arrangement, especially in the bottom picture, of how we are sitting, what order we have been placed in for this formal picture. What is the basic unit of society? Individual or collective? In the bottom, is seniority valued? Absolutely. Look who is in the front row. Are women's equals or subordinates when you think of the top picture? To better understand self, we have any number of diagnostics. You have been part of perhaps Myers-Briggs or Strength Finder or any number of diagnostics in the past. First week of this course, we looked at cultural intelligence. This week, we're going to look at emotional intelligence, and you have a diagnostic for that. It's an ability to recognize, understand, and use emotional information about oneself. That focused on understanding self that leads to or causes effective or superior performance. Now you have to see this also in relation to social intelligence, and that's understanding others, and cognitive intelligence, to think and analyze information and situations. There are any number of diagnostics. I give you links to these. Obviously, there are more. If you have used others that you find of, critical value to our work here, please share them. We also look at social organization. This is also a picture from my time in Morocco. Is group membership temporary or permanent? Note the person here in the middle. Have people gathered in a permanent way or a temporary one? Is form important or untrustworthy? Are personal matters private or public? Social organization, is it horizontal or hierarchical? I'm often told that higher education in the U.S., perhaps elsewhere, is one of the most hierarchical social organizations. Is approach to authority direct or mediated? Another story. When a year ago in Tanzania, and we here in this, you can see my a colleague that was there with me when we were visiting this women's cooperative. And they were listening to a presentation about a new technology for use in drying tomatoes so they would not lose so many as part of the harvest. And in this particular case, as you just examine this whole group, who is in charge? Whose opinion there will count the most? Share in the course forum about who you think is in charge and why. Other things that helped me understand groups and self in Tanzania. This was a picture of a wedding that because we were the foreigners and visiting, we were positioned toward the front of the church in this case, and the bride and groom sit down, and every person walks around and gives puts money or a gift in a box for them, and it's done in a processional fashion. I learned, well, I don't say I perhaps learned very well, but I joined, women did allow me into their outside kitchen and into the work. And it was a wonderful way to get to know them. A very different culture from Japan. Another way to look at social organization, examine games. First of all, what's your favorite game? Board game, perhaps? What are the basics of that board game? What countries or cultures play that game too? How does it offer you an understanding of the corresponding culture's social, cultural, symbolic identification? What kind of game is China playing? Do you play this game? Do you know how to play Go? It starts with an empty board. Each player has an unlimited supply of stones. One has black, one has the white ones. The object of the game is to use your stones to form territories, to connect, to build networks. And you capture the opponent by surrounding them with your effective network. Who knows how to play the game Go? What does it signal about a culture? Well, hey, what about chess? Who knows how to play chess here? What does it teach you about culture? It's two opponents, just two, opposite sides. The goal of the game is to checkmate the other king. It happens when the king is in a position to be captured in check. Who knows how to play chess? What does it tell you about the culture? Again, think, is chess an individualistic or a collective culture? Well, okay, here's another one. What about Mancala? How many of you play this one? I so enjoyed my time in Tanzania and watching groups. Interestingly, nearly always all men playing Mancala, and the joy and the fun to watch. They aim, move your stones around, again, so you capture more stones than your opponent. What does it tell you about the culture? Discuss this scenario in the course forum. You have a colleague who's moving to work in another country. Okay, you're meeting with that colleague to visit about this new work. Well, you've been in this course, so you ask, hey, do you know the games that this country or culture plays? So choose the country, or think about your target country as part and culture as part of the current assignment in this course. How does the game, that culture's game, offer an understanding of its social, cultural, symbolic identification? And last, for this week, you start to dig into personal learning networks. If you've been in a course with me before, you've developed one of these, so update it. There are a couple of tutorials that give you different options for tools for developing, and just give a quick overview of personal learning networks. The key is, what do you include and why, and how does it signal better understanding of self? There's also a great article, Understanding Personal Learning Networks, their structure, content, and the networking skills needed to optimally use them. I look forward to your discussion. Have a great week.